Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Watcher stream for May 23rd. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Adrian.
And today, we got quite a lot of movie news to talk about. There's so much that I couldn't even fit just one that I wanted to put in the title for this week's stream.
Hey, fair enough. A lot going on.
But before we jump into any kind of movie news whatsoever, Adrian, how have you been doing over the last week?
I've been good. It's been a busy week. We had a family, my girlfriend's brother's 21st birthday. So that was pretty fun. Partied probably too hard, but recovered. Now we're back and just feeling good about it, you know?
Awesome.
How about you?
I saw the pictures on Instagram. It looked like a lot of fun. So
it was fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
Last week's been pretty good. Been busy with work, getting close to Memorial Day. So a lot of clients have a lot going on. So it's busy, which is good. Helps the days go by faster, even though there's a little bit more stress. But it's going pretty good. So good. But let's go ahead. How's everyone in the audience? We got one viewer, two viewers now. Hope you're all doing wonderful.
How's it going, everyone?
Just a reminder, if you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and we will get to them after each segment. So just have a little bit of patience. And let's go ahead and get into the news stories for this week. Adrian, I'm excited. There's some pretty cool stuff to talk about. However, we have a little bit of a depends on who you ask. We got a little bit of a downer for our first story today, and that is that Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which is the first upcoming Avengers movie of the two-parter, has lost its writer Jeff Loveness, who was the writer of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I don't know if this is necessarily a bad thing or a good thing.
I feel like it kind of makes sense with everything that's kind of been coming out. If Marvel, I think this indicates that they're leaning in a direction that may not be favorable. Like they may either be keeping him or not or whatever, but I would imagine that the writer either did agree or did not agree with the stance.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird that he kind of came out and was getting all defensive about Quantumania, and when it was, people were starting to poke holes in it. Maybe it just wasn't the right choice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it has something to do with the writer's strike. Got no idea.
Yeah, and speaking of good or bad news, depending on who you ask, Fast X has the lowest opening in the US since 2006. Now, this is a bit of a misleading news title because it has done extremely well. It's already passed $400 million globally. So clearly we're the problem. We are the reason that this movie continues to keep pushing forward. I did get to see it. I think it was significantly more fun than the ninth film. It is by no means a good movie, but it is probably the most fun I've had in the theater. The whole theater was laughing out loud and gasping and being shocked, and it was just a really good time. I think they may have gotten a little closer to that sweet spot of self-deprecation with the franchise, so definitely came across a tiny bit better.
Sure. Well, speaking of audience reactions, I hear there's one particular cameo that gets the audience pretty unhappy, at least in the majority of theaters, from what I've heard.
Unhappy?
Yeah, it happens to be a certain black market dealer, where audiences were on record groaning in the theater when they showed up. Should I spoil this cameo?
I can't even think of who you're talking about.
I mean, it's someone who may or may not have ties to SNL.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That was kind of whatever.
Yeah. I've seen a couple videos now on YouTube where people are just like, ugh.
There's some other cameos, though, that do make up for it and are absolutely set to change the course of the entire Fast franchise. So I will say this one was so fun, and I had such a good time watching it with friends that I am in for the next two.
Like if they make two more.
Or I'm in for the next one or the remaining two, but it totally was like enough for me to be like, I get it. It's dumb. It was a good time. They are officially, I say this all the time, but this is literally the end game of Cars movies. Like, it is literally, there's so many cameos. There's so many people. There's so many different plot points. They literally have like so many locations in this movie that it's the same as like an Endgame where it's like two people are in nowhere. One person's in Cuba. And it's like, they're literally across the globe. The exact same plot. So I had a fun time. I'm sorry to hear it had the lowest opening. I get it. People are like over it, but it was a fun movie.
Continuing the trend of mixed news, let's go ahead and get into this. Unfortunately, Indiana Jones 5, which is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, is getting some mixed reviews, to say the best. But,
Yikes.
however, we do have to take this with a grain of salt, though, because these reviews are coming out of the Cannes Film Festival, which is where it premiered. And the Cannes Film Festival is notoriously really pretentious. And these are the kind of things where The Whale gets 20-minute standing ovations and things like that. I don't necessarily think this was the right place to do it. I am more excited to see what the fans have to say, though, because all the reviews say that it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but still not a good movie. Which I'm like, okay, well then is it? I don't know. I want fans to see it, and more people that I kind of trust to review it.
I think what we're up against here is that it's a good Indiana Jones movie, which may not hold up to good film in the current era, what people expect from a movie. The fact that Steven Spielberg has been on record saying I didn't realize anyone else could make these or whatever, obviously there's enough there that he thinks it's a good Indiana Jones film. It just may not be a 10 out of 10 movie. I don't really know. The mixed reviews are really throwing me off.
It's really throwing for a loop, and even the movie side of Reddit is getting really weirded out by everything. They're like, we don't know who to trust anymore.
I mean, I've seen the thing of him, Harrison Ford, in the theater at the premiere, getting a standing ovation.
He's what got the standing ovation, not the movie. Yeah.
But what does that mean? Does that mean he's good, but the rest of it's terrible? I mean, we'll just have to see.
We'll have to wait and see. I'm still excited for the movie, so I'm not. My excitement is not tempered yet.
Speaking of potential mixed reviews, TMNT Mutant Mayhem release date has been moved up to August 2nd. Feels like the first time we've had a movie move up in release date in quite a few years. So either they're
moved up 2 days.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder if that's to avoid another film. I did not look into what else is coming out on the original release day. But it seems like just a strategic move, maybe to try to grab more box office dollars. I'd also imagine they saw the success of Super Mario Bros. Releasing on a Wednesday,
100%.
and they wanted to do the same thing for an animated film. So
try and go for a record opening because they had 2 extra days. Yeah, easily. It's what's going to. I think that's why it happened. It also, it does speak confidence for the film, I think, too. So maybe the studio's confident that it'll do well.
They're saying, let's go for it.
Speaking of let's go for it and not learning from bad decisions, new Peter Pan and Winnie the Pooh horror movies have been announced. These are coming from a German production studio. I forget which films they've made before, but we already had Blood and Honey that came out, I think, this year or end of last year, which was one of the worst movies ever made, apparently. And the synopsis for their Winnie the Pooh horror movie sounds exactly the same. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if it's in German, it'll be a little bit different. That's all I got to say about that.
Who knows? Yeah. In addition to a previous news story, we do have a female-led Fast and Furious movie in the works. Not only is this exciting and kind of, all female stuff, that's all fine. It's interesting because originally this was supposed to be the last set of films in the entire franchise. So the fact that there's rumors circulating about another film existing definitely leads to kind of this Fast universe where we may be getting more kind of one-off films, which I'm here for, as long as they're done correctly and kind of within line. So I'm here for it, and they certainly already have enough females to do a female-led Fast and Furious if they want to keep the cast. If they want a new cast, there's plenty of leading ladies out there right now that I could imagine are perfect for the role.
Oh, easily. And I think that if we can get a female version, or not, I think that's the wrong way to say it, but another film like Hobbs and Shaw with a female cast, 100%, I'm all there for it.
Yeah, great movie.
Unfortunately, we do have some sad news today, and that is that the actor Ray Stevenson, who has appeared in RRR, the upcoming Star Wars Ahsoka series, as well as the Thor films, as one of the 5 friends that Thor has unfortunately passed away at the age of 58.
Unexpectedly.
Very unexpectedly, which we'll be able to see him coming up again, like I said, in the Star Wars Ahsoka show, just quick message of solidarity to family and friends of Mr. Stevenson. We hope you're doing all right, because this is very unexpected.
Yeah. And then moving into what I think is good news is Oppenheimer is Nolan's longest film yet, as it approaches 3 hours of runtime. I'm actually, the last 3-hour film I saw was Beau is Afraid, which didn't hit that kind of hour, like it felt long to me. But 3-hour films are definitely becoming the norm for a lot of things, so I actually don't feel like this is too crazy. Christopher Nolan movies have always had me glued to my seat, so I'm not overly concerned about this runtime.
No, not at all. And I feel like that's going to show more of Oppenheimer's story and more of what's going on in that time frame.
Yeah.
And I'm all there for it. I mean, I'm the same way. The longer a movie is, I'm not going to say it's better, but the longer a movie, the more real estate you have to tell a complete narrative.
Exactly.
So I'd take a 3-hour movie over an hour and 20 minutes every day.
Sure.
Speaking of nothing related, Auli Cravalho, who played Moana in the animated film Moana, has stated that she will not be returning for the live-action version of Moana. However, she will be executive producing, stating that her wish is that they get someone who represents the world and the story better, which doesn't make sense to me. The only thing I can think is that she means younger, because she's grown up since the film came out. So, I mean,
big money move for her. I think she's gonna make. Smart move there. Yeah.
she'll make some bank there. No one's gonna argue with that.
Yeah. And speaking of interesting castings, Tati Gabrielle to play Jade in Mortal Kombat 2. This might just be like way out of left field, but I feel like she already has the face for it to play Jade. Like, I just think it's such a perfect face-to-face casting that I'm really excited about it. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, and she in the Uncharted movie, she proved that she could fight. So, yeah. I mean, I'm down to see it. We already have Karl Urban coming in as Johnny Cage too. So, I mean, hey, I'm all here for it. Next up, and get some casting news. This is awesome. Both Brianna Hildebrand and Shioli Katsuna are returning in Deadpool 3 as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Yukio returning to the franchise, which I believe will be, well, not the first, but it'll be yet another on-screen same-sex couple in the MCU, which is a win for everyone.
Yeah, which is awesome. Love to see it.
Yeah, and they're a little bit of a heart. They were like, they were a little bit of a heart and soul to Deadpool 2 in a movie full of heart and soul. So interested to see what role they're going to play. There was also a piece of news a couple of weeks ago that we did miss, but the actor who played Colossus in Deadpool 1 and 2 is returning as well, which means that those characters will be in the MCU.
Wonderful. Love it. Love to see all the crossovers happening. We also, speaking of MCU, have gotten no chance of Guardians 4, says James Gunn. I'm actually super in line with this. I think it was always supposed to be a trilogy, so it doesn't come as a huge surprise. And I think with 3 being 3, I think it's exactly where it needs to be as that franchise. I think it can be, I know there's a lot of things that stem out of the Guardians in the comic books, so they can call it something else. He's not saying we won't never see these characters again. It's just not going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah, I think that obviously there's the thing where he's leading DC now, so he's not going to be able to touch it again. But I think that he's kind of stating that their story as a team is done. Like they'll move on into other things. It just won't be not a solo film, but it won't be their film.
Exactly.
Speaking of their film, we did get word that we're getting 3 new Star Wars movies, one of which is Dave Filoni's film, which is reportedly titled Star Wars Heir to the Empire, which means that we'll be getting an adaptation of the Timothy Zahn novel, where Thrawn is attempting to become the new leader of a resurrected empire in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. I mean, this is pretty much expected. They said Heir to the Empire in the Ahsoka trailer, so...
So there it is.
Also just a really cool title. I'm all there for it.
It certainly fits in line with kind of the films you'd expect to see. Like, the title's totally spot on for me. So yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I'll definitely probably check it out, especially because it's a feature film and not a TV show. Like, that's going to draw me in a little more because it's an easier commitment.
I just wonder if it's going to have success because it's based off of the universe of the TV shows.
That's the super iffy thing. Like, again, it's got me more in because I can watch it. and that's it. Like, I've committed the time and it's done. There's no like keeping me along for anything. So I'll definitely check it out. But jury's still out on how stoked I am for it. Something that I am stoked for, and I think a lot of people are, is that all of the Indiana Jones movies will be on Disney Plus starting June 30th. I believe that lines up with the Hulu consolidation. I could be wrong,
Like
but
yeah.
it's part of the merger of all that stuff. So everyone's gonna get access to that has Disney Plus. That's really exciting. Those are great films, and I love to see that we'll probably get like an Indiana Jones section where you can go, kind of like how there's a Marvel, like you'll get a subsection of those films. So I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think what it would probably be, instead of just being like, oh, I don't know, that'd be hard. I was gonna say you could do Lucasfilm as a section, and it would be Star Wars, Indiana Jones, but
that's a little tough. We'll see how it fits in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also similar news too is that Paramount Plus and Showtime are merging, which is huge because Showtime has a lot of movies on it. Paramount has not a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm all here for that as well. Speaking of nothing in common, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who played Baron Mordo in the Doctor Strange films, is actually joining another Marvel project, joining Venom 3, which I forgot this was greenlit. But I'm wondering if he's going to play a brand new character or if he is going to play Baron Mordo.
That's what's super tough. If it's same character, makes sense with Venom being brought kind of into the MCU realm. They've teased it here and there, so that would kind of allow that to continue. If it's a new character, then we are fully in the multiverse, and there's just no going back if they've just cast him as someone else.
The multiverse of money making.
Exactly.
But that is it for the news stories this week. Quite a few of them. A little more mixed in terms of stories this week, in terms of good or bad.
Yeah.
But hey, it's part of the game. But you know what's a part of the movie game?
Trailers.
You got it. Good. We had a lot of trailers.
We have a couple comments. I don't know if we already addressed them or not.
Toxic Nos, hello. Hi, friend. How are you doing today? Just say Fast X. We did.
Fast X.
There you go. But
a lot of
Adrian, a lot of trailers this week. As Adrian was saying, have you watched all these trailers, or any that you're? What stands out to you?
The one that caught like my most immediate attention was the Flash Final trailer. To be honest, maybe I'm the opposite of the trend, but I feel like I'm less interested with each trailer that comes out. I think I would have rather they just stuck with the first one. I know a lot of people are getting more and more excited. I don't know if that's just a weird one for me. But my biggest one is actually more just because they actually showed a trailer, which was for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I love the Mission Impossible movies. This was an actual trailer. The one we got a few months ago was like
one of the worst trailers I've ever seen.
It's like a proof of concept video, it felt like, or like a highlight reel. This one was like an actual trailer where we got a little bit of plot. I love that the wife is back as a main character. Like, that's been a really cool overarching story. So I was super excited to see that trailer, and it definitely made me excited for the film.
Yeah, it was an actual trailer, which was nice to see. However, for me, it was a three-way tie this week. We had a lot of trailers. Number one is The Color Purple, which is a remake of a Steven Spielberg film, and it looks awesome. I can't wait to go see this movie in theaters. Second is the new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which has a really good last shot and narration at the end of it, which I'm very much looking forward to that. But if I had to choose one trailer, it's The Creator. I have not been more excited for a sci-fi film in a very long time.
I completely forgot. I love that we're getting an original IP.
Yes.
For like, there's no book. It's based off. This is like a solely original film and idea, and I love it.
It's kind of looks like a mix of Terminator and Overwatch.
Yeah.
Almost.
But the most important thing is it looks original. Like, it looks fresh. It looks exciting, and the trailer looked amazing.
The visual effects in the trailer look really good, so I'm all here for it. But those are the trailers this week. Kevin adds, Jason Momoa is a great villain. Would you agree?
I saw a lot of things saying that, like, he makes the movies. I didn't understand what his character was. Obviously crazy, but it seems to go a lot of back and forth. Also, just to let everyone know, by far the most viscerally violent Fast and Furious movie you've ever seen. Like, without bodies, like dead people with like wounds on them, just fully on screen. And Jason Momoa certainly is a sadistic villain. I will give you that.
Did we need a Joker in the Fast universe? Is that what we got here?
Pretty kind of, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of film, because it's kind of the overarching narrative of this entire show, I, Garrett, watch films every week and review them, and this is the time where I get to spend with you and talk about them. And yes, I finally watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I gave it a 72 out of 100. I said it's fine. A lot of the hatred towards the film feels unwarranted. It's still a fun film that, while it does rely a little too much on humor, presents an awesome world ripe for exploration. Some effects were a bit wonky, but I went in expecting to hate it, and I came out a little bit more pleasantly surprised than I was expecting. Again, not an incredible film, probably one of the weaker ones in a while, but wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. Next up was the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I watched this week. I have a longer essay on, almost like an essay on my Letterboxd, but this is kind of the shortened review. I said, while wonderfully animated and scored, the film is massively let down by incessant pop music, mixed voice performances, and a lack of a true story in favor of references and inclusions of other properties. Now, just to make it clear, just because I didn't enjoy the movie doesn't mean that I don't respect people that do. I think this movie has an audience and a place, just like the Sonic films do. Not every video game adaptation needs to be The Last of Us or Arcane in terms of like depth and, visceral quality. So there is a place for these. It just doesn't land for me. I'm also not a Mario guy. I've never played a Mario game, so didn't really click with me. After that, watched The Prestige, one of Christopher Nolan's earlier films, and goddamn, this movie's really good. A brilliant tale of revenge and betrayal told through the lens of 1900s magic. Acted brilliantly, paced, and shot beautifully. There's a love here for the material that's too hard to ignore. This film is incredible. I don't know when the last time you saw it was, Adrian, but it's definitely worth a rewatch.
A few years ago, yeah, I rewatched it just for fun. It's an amazing movie.
I forgot there were so many twists and turns in that movie.
Yeah.
Lastly, last night, I wanted to watch it because the new Mortal Kombat game was announced. There's an animated Mortal Kombat film on HBO Max called Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge from 2020. Give it a 75 out of 100. I said easily a better movie version than any previous. Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge is well animated and fun, albeit a retread of Mortal Kombat 9's story with a little bit more emphasis on Scorpion. So those are the films that I watched in the last week. If you want to see the full reviews for those or any other films that I've watched, you can go to Letterboxd, and there is my username.
Thanks for that. Yeah, some good stuff. I'm glad you saw Ant-Man. I don't know if I would have given it a 72, but I also agree that it isn't the worst film of all time. So I definitely feel like people saying it's like a 10, that's a bit excessive. It wasn't the best, but it was okay.
If anything, it kind of felt like the Flash Gordon kind of type campy sci-fi film of Marvel, which was kind of maybe felt like an experiment.
Right.
It doesn't land 100%, and I'm not saying it does. I think most the high level of my score mostly comes from the fact that I was surprised that I didn't hate it.
I also think that for me, I think I've talked about it before if you've listened to us previously, but I think it's also like the most COVID movie that I think I've ever seen. Like, it just felt like there was never more than 4 people on screen at a time. The entire thing, you could tell it was done on green screen and in the volume, so it just felt small, which, like, for Quantumania, I totally get that works. It just felt like oversaturation of COVID. Like, it just felt like limited filming stuff. So yeah, I agree though. I don't know if it's a 72, but I don't think it's terrible either. So yeah, I'm all for you there. But now that you got to talk about what you did see, people want to go to the movies this weekend. So what's coming out? First, we have a pretty highly anticipated one. The Little Mermaid live action movie comes out on Friday to wide release. We have a young mermaid makes a deal with a sea witch to trade her beautiful voice for human legs so she can discover the world above water to impress a prince. Pretty much my exact life story, but very excited to see it play out on screen here. And the trailers are looking good. I'm very excited to see Ursula. I think Melissa McCarthy looks fantastic in that role, so very excited for that. We also have The Machine coming out. Those of you that are a fan of Bert, will know this is his life story played out in a movie. Bert's drunken past catches up with him 20 years down the road when he and his father are kidnapped by those Bert wronged 20 years ago while drunk on a college semester abroad in Russia. And the craziest thing is that Mark Hamill, I believe, plays his dad in this movie, which is just a crazy casting get. But it looks really fun. It looks almost like if you ever saw The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco, it's kind of like that type of humor movie is kind of what we're looking at. Then we also have, that's coming out to wide release, by the way. Then we also have Kandar coming out on Friday. This is an action thriller movie with Gerard Butler, a CIA operative and his translator flee from special forces in Afghanistan after exposing a covert mission. Seems pretty exciting to me. I'm definitely here for it. Him in Plane was really, really good. So he definitely has me. That one's still limited release, though, so you might have to go a bit to find that one. We also have The Lesson coming out on Friday to very limited release. The Tutor follows an aspiring young author hungry for recognition and success who takes a tutoring position at a legendary writer's estate. Soon, the young tutor realizes he is engulfed in his hero's complicated family legacy, which holds a deadly past and threatens his own future. Seems really interesting. These for the sites I used didn't really have a poster for it, but it seems interesting. It seems like kind of like a thriller drama movie. Last but not least, coming out this weekend to very limited release, we have Close to Vermeer. Much has been written, but little is known about Johann Vermeer's, painter of iconic paintings and crowd pleasers such as The Milkmaid and The Girl with the Pearl Earring. His small oeuvre is almost everything he left behind. Basically like a little bit of a a full-blown documentary with a little bit of style thrown in there. Kind of just bringing to light some of the painter's more kind of deeper life secrets and stuff. So if you're into anything like that, this might be a really big one to catch.
Alrighty. Sounds like we got a pretty good weekend coming out. I'm definitely interested in The Little Mermaid. I think the reviews I've been seeing have been actually better than I was expecting. So
that and the Gerard Butler movie is looking like it's actually just a classic Gerard Butler film, which I'm always down for.
Do you think he's turning into kind of the new Liam Neeson type? Put him in every kind of action movie that doesn't get, the biggest budget kind of a film?
I think so, but I think he's doing it better. Like, okay. I feel like Liam Neeson towards the end of his run, he's definitely still very famous. I'm not saying like he's out of Hollywood, but like he was doing like nonstop and like all these movies that were almost identical, just different scenarios. And I feel like Gerard Butler has a little more depth to the films. Like I think he's picking from the same bucket, but I think he's picking better in what he's actually starring in.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. But enough about this coming weekend. Let's talk about last weekend. This is the box office results for the last weekend. We have Fast X coming in from the first weekend with $67 million. For reference, in its second weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy made 62 last week. So, not doing too well for the franchise in America. It is doing well globally, which we already talked about earlier. In second place, no surprise, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with $32.4 million. In third place, the Super Mario Brothers movie with $9.6 million. Fourth place, Book Club, the next chapter, holding in for a second week with $3 million. And then Evil Dead Rise, still hanging in almost a month later. Great year for horror this year with $2.4 million. We keep saying that every week, but between Scream 6, Megan, and Evil Dead Rise, horror is keeping it up this year. So that's it for the moneymakers for the last week. Adrian, what have you been watching over the last week?
Not too much, actually. Mostly I started the show SWAT on Netflix. I thought it was like an older show, but turns out it started in 2021. So it's like super recent, actually, which was crazy. I was watching it and I thought it was like a Criminal Minds era show. And then they were talking about things that like exist now. And I was like, I literally was like sitting on the couch, just mind blown. I was like, what time does this take place in? But it's super recent. There's 7 seasons in that span. So absolutely crazy. That's what it says on Netflix. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the date's wrong on Netflix. But it said it came out in 2021, and they just finished season 6.
The CBS show?
I think it's CBS. Wouldn't CBS be on Paramount? It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Paramount Plus. It's on Netflix though?
Yeah, I'm watching it on Netflix.
I have no idea. There's a bunch of different SWAT things, so I have no idea.
What if you just find out it's not a real show and I've just been like hallucinating?
you're in another reality. Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. So,
Let me see. SWAT. Oh, okay. So 2017.
Okay, so it was the CBS one. Okay.
Yeah, 6 seasons. They're getting their 7th and final. But I do want to say it's really good. It's maybe Netflix is showing like the last season date, like when the last update came out.
Maybe.
But some things that I'm looking forward to. I've kind of been dabbling in Sea of Thieves. Started the the Pirates of the Caribbean thing. So it's been fun. And then I don't really play PC. I wish I did for this one reason, because Outlast Trials has come out for early release, and I'm refusing to watch any videos, but I'm understanding it's getting rave reviews from pretty much everyone. So I am just waiting for the port to Xbox, because I am a huge horror game fan, and Outlast is one of my favorite series, from Whistleblower to 1 and 2. So I cannot wait. I literally clicked on Pink Charlie's video because I was like, oh, like maybe he's got like thing, and I saw that it started, and I was like, it can't be out. And I literally clicked out of the video, and I was like, I don't want to know anything. But shout out to that game if you're into any sort of scary games. That's coming out soon. And if you do play on PC, you can play it right now.
And it's a multiplayer game, so
yeah, it's co-op.
We'll have to survive together. Speaking of surviving together, I have been doing my best to get back into Dead by Daylight, which very similar to the Outlast Trials, kind of a co-op. It is more competitive for certain than Outlast Trials is.
Outlast Trials is mainly a story game.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah, it's just that's more like co-op as opposed to competitive multiplayer.
Yeah.
So, but I also got back into it because we are getting Nicolas Cage as a playable survivor.
As himself.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait. But also, two incredible, like one of my favorite bands of all time and another great band are getting cosmetic additions or DLCs for the game. There's an Iron Maiden pack coming, throwing in looks based on Eddie, which is their title character. And then there's a Slipknot pack coming with all their masks for killers, which is just such a good idea.
Yeah, that's fun.
But they've also said that the next 2 chapters with killers and survivors and maps and all that will be licensed. So a lot of people are starting to debate what those are going to be. The most requested ones have been Candyman as a playable character and Jason Voorhees, who hasn't been in the game because it's very hard to get rights to the character. But a lot of people are thinking there's also going to be a Five Nights at Freddy's chapter 2, which would be very interesting because Springtrap would be a good killer in the game. Lore-wise and I think look-wise would be very unique. Besides that, though, I'm going to continue to sing their praises. One of my favorite bands right now, Sleep Token, just dropped their new album, and it is literally, I don't say this enough about music. It is one of the best albums I've ever heard. Adrian, you've heard a couple of their new songs. The back half of their album is like, it's so good. There's one song that just continually makes me cry, and I've listened to it probably about 15 times already. It's really good. It's really well done. But then also, I'll have to wait until Friday just for paycheck reasons, but there is a new Warhammer first-person shooter called Bolt Gun, which is getting rave reviews, which it basically looks like an old, they call it boomer shooters, basically looks like an old Doom game, just with the sprites and the graphics and things like that, and there's really not a negative thing being shared at all by reviewers or fans of Warhammer or anyone. So... which is good. We Warhammer players needed a good video game to come out. So, hey, I'll take it. Other than that, though, not a whole lot else.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much. Just really haven't been having the time to kind of sit down. I've literally been binging SWAT because I got so hooked on it. But yeah, I kind of stopped playing Star Ocean, mostly for difficulty reasons because I'm not good at JRPGs. So I was like, I always try to play in a new game on like the normal difficult, like whatever it says is recommended. I could not get past the first boss in this game for lack of fundamentals. So I'm now playing on the easiest difficulty, which is I think convert like well, yes, it's letting me progress through the game. I think it's also taking away the weight of the story, so I think it's lost me a bit, and that like I can't play it how it should be played, but it's not interesting at the easiest difficulty. So I think I'm kind of torn in this phase of jumping back and forth in difficulty, which isn't that fun. So it may have caught me at an off time here, kind of in the middle of the game.
I definitely feel the same way about most JRPGs that I played, where like it just does it. It's not specifically that it's a JRPG. I think it's just like certain mechanics just never grab me.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. I don't think it counts as a JRPG, but I tried playing Persona 5 because it was added to Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah,
and I just couldn't really get past the first hour. It wasn't my kind of game. But
that's fair. Yeah,
there is a JRPG inspired Lord of the Rings game though that I remember from GameCube. I think it was called The Third Age. That game was a lot of fun.
I think it's tough. I think video games in general, I think nowadays, just with age and life, it's like they either grab you or they don't. And it's just a toss-up. Like, it could have the exact same theme. Like, you might be like, oh, I really want a Star Wars game. At least I'll speak for myself. You're like, oh, I really want to play a Star Wars game. But then you play it, and it just might not be the game. Like, even if it's got all the stuff you want, it's just not the time.
Yeah. 100%. Totally agree with that. Matt Walls, good to see you again. Last JRPG I played was Final Fantasy IX a couple of years ago. Such a good game. I always hear good things about Final Fantasy. Never really played any of them myself. Have you?
Star Ocean, Matt, is, I don't know if you ever played Star Ocean, but it's literally just like a more heavy sci-fi version of Final Fantasy. They've kind of like been in the same space for a long time. So I've played my fair share of Final Fantasy. My personal Final Fantasy favorites go back to like the Tactics days, like back when it was full-blown turn-based, way back when. And then 7, I think, might have been my last favorite. I haven't played any of like the double digits past X and X2. But yeah, no, I respect it. I've heard Final Fantasy 9 was really good. I almost said Fast and Furious 9 because I just read FF9.
Not the same thing.
No, every Fast and Furious game has been terrible. So, which is such a shame. I'll jump back because if you see this 10th movie, there's so many parts of this movie where you're like, oh my gosh, that's such a video game level. And they just can't do it right. Like, just do that in a video game and people would love it. And they just ruin it every time. I
feel like the closest way you can get to a Fast and Furious game is probably GTA like story mode. Like, that's probably the closest anyone's got to nailing it. And
but if you were to reskin it and retheme it and just do the characters and stuff, it could be. I'm surprised there's not like a mod to make that a game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a mod out there. Add Dominic Toretto into the game. Matt Walls has been wanting to play Star Ocean. Just, I don't know if I'll ever have the time to play them. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I hate getting older and having responsibilities. I just don't have as much time to play.
JRPGs, too, are like, oh, it's a little bit short of a game at 200 hours. And you're like, oh, yikes. And especially if you're not, like, the best at them, like, I'll say myself, that's, like, minimum. It's going to take me 200 hours because I'm going to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, you want to explore everything, try and get to every option, and, yeah, it's... I'm the same way with, like, the... What's it called? Like the Bethesda games, where I have to see everything. Vin Diesel had a GTA like game back on the 360 back in the day. It was Wheelman, right?
Yeah.
Where you dove from car to car.
Yeah, that was a weird memory that I just unlocked.
And there were advertisements for the game in the game as billboards. Like, Vin Diesel driving around. Oh, I gotta buy me Wheelman. So gosh, that's so dumb.
Speaking of Bethesda games, obviously Star Citizen is still in the works. Starfield, yeah, I'm sorry. But I'm getting so many videos on the internet of people just going like, oh my gosh, looks amazing. What's the actual game? Like, no one knows what the actual like gameplay loop will look like.
I mean, they haven't really put out like a narrative trailer though, like to go over like factions and everything just yet.
That's what no one knows. People are like, what is the actual thing?
But I mean, like, all you have to do is really look at, unless they're changing it up drastically, you really just have to look at Fallout or Skyrim, where there's going to be a story, but it's going to be so wide open in how you can tackle it that, and it's probably even more wide open than especially with the starship making mechanic and everything, which I don't care. I'm super excited for that game. I love Bethesda. I know they're not
I'm gonna
consistent,
try it for sure. Yeah.
but it's going to be on Game Pass too. So I mean, hey, no reason not to. Final Fantasy 12 is a boss fight that lasts for 15 hours because it has 9 million health. No joke. I hate it when video game developers inflate their game length. No, I'm just kidding. That's so stupid.
I will say that does sound like if you had like a group of friends that were like ready for the fight, if it's multiplayer, or like if you just like, I don't know, I could see that being super fun, like almost going through a gauntlet to complete it, but it also seems quite excessive.
Yeah, like a sleepover, we'll do it in shifts.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun.
It does.
I don't know. Man, that sucks. That sounds like a raid boss in like Destiny or World of Warcraft.
Except with 9 million health. Speaking though of Destiny, we did get Season of the Deep, which is the most interested I've been since this new era has dropped. Season of the Deep, I don't know if you remember on Saturn or the planet with the water that you go to.
The water. Oh, the Titan.
Titan. Back in the day, you used to be able to like see sea creatures in the ocean. This whole season goes under the ocean on Titan.
Oh,
so and you're actually like exploring the sea life and things like that, which I think is really interesting. So,
Matt Walls, if it had co-op, it would only take 4 hours, right?
That's so interesting because at 15 hours, half of that is not 4. So maybe you're saying if you had someone that was really good play with, like it would shorten it even more. Or maybe it's the mechanics, like maybe it's how the damage is done.
Or it's 3 people, kind of. But even that's not a third of 15.
Sorry to roast the math. I don't know why we're roasting it. That doesn't even matter.
Oh man. Anyhow, well, if you have any last minute comments, make sure you go ahead and get them in. Because we love talking, we love chatting. Yeah, dude, Outlast Trials, man, looks pretty good.
I have stayed away from any gameplay aside from the trailer that dropped a little bit ago. I love to just play those things flat out, get scared, have a good time. I will say I did see on Charlie's video like the opening cinematic with the rat looking into the bottle, and the game looks incredible.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I almost want to see. Is it on Steam? Is that where it's
on
available?
Xbox Early Access on PC.
On Xbox Early Access.
Yeah, I think it might be Steam Early Access. I don't know.
I don't see it on the home screen. No, just Outlast 2. Where is it on Steam?
Oh, it's on Steam. Yeah.
Yeah, Outlast Trials, $30. Ooh. Early access. Yeah, I mean, if it's early access, I don't know if it's coming to Xbox anytime soon, but Matt Walls, I was never going to good at math. Are you all interested in Starfield? We were just talking about it. Yeah, I'm really interested in Starfield. I love Bethesda. I love all their games like Skyrim and Fallout, and I'm excited for that in space because I love sci-fi.
Yep, 100%.
And because it's coming with Game Pass, don't have to pay for it. Even better.
Always a plus.
Always a plus. I just wish we get another trailer. Like I want to see some more gameplay. I want to see a little bit more story and like they've already gone over some of the factions, but I'd love a faction trailer. And I want to know like what we're doing. Like that's just the biggest thing.
What's the gameplay?
Why we're exploring, why we're meeting other people, that kind of thing. Which hopefully we get that soon. If Starfield is buggy like Bethesda's last couple of games, it might fold the company. I hope not. It won't fold the company, I don't think. I think it'll just, games now just kind of release not complete.
Which is so dumb.
Which, I'm trying to think the last time this had an issue, but I feel like most games that have come out and have been buggy have been multiplayer games. And I think that the majority of single-player games that have come out recently have launched pretty fine. Jedi Survivor came out, was fine, except for some performance issues on PC. Tears of the Kingdom came out, was fine. Redfall had issues.
Pretty fine.
Yeah, that's because they just hit Control Copy Paste. That's
Yeah.
all they do. Hope it's good. I sincerely hope it's good too. I think Bethesda needs a win, especially after Redfall.
I also think if they push it out fast, like this is totally ramping up to be too much hype. You just got to get a game out. If you keep delaying for years and years and decades, people get disappointed. It's impossible to avoid.
But I think they've got two things going for it. Number one, Xbox needs a game to come out this year that's not Redfall. So I don't think they're going to push it back again. And it already has been delayed. And so, like, you got to remember that delays are not necessarily a bad thing. I think that, you know, for the most part, if you delay a game, it gives you more time to work on it. Which, I mean, you know, there's a couple games I can think of that should have been delayed a little bit longer. That was, have you played Callisto Protocol? I have not. You did?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was good. I'm always into, like, to me, it felt a lot like Prey, which I played a long time ago. I actually don't feel like it, like, wrote anything home for me. Like, I thought it was good enough to be playable, but yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I think, did that come out this year? I completely forgot.
I thought it was last year.
Matt Walls gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Still enjoyed it. Hey, you know what? Remember, just because it has a 6 out of 10 doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It's just, you know, still can enjoy it if it's a lower score game. I think personally, I would just rather play the Dead Space remake, which apparently was just incredible. So,
yeah, I think that's kind of where, like, it felt a little like Prey in that it had, like, to me, a little bit more of, like, the gimmicky side of, or like the campiness to it, or I don't know, what's like a good word for that? It kind of felt like a BioShock mix, like that kind of feel to a game. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Have you seen the unreleased Prey 2 footage?
I'm
assuming you were talking about the original Prey, not the Arcane Prey. Because there was a game called Prey that came out in like 2006, and you played as like a bar owner who was like abducted, and you fought back against aliens. And then there was supposed to be a sequel to that game where you were a bounty hunter out in space. And that one, I think I've seen the footage for, and looked pretty good. I don't think there is footage for a Prey 2 by Arcane, which is the one that came out like 5 years ago. I could be wrong though. I don't know. They just need a win after Redfall. That's all that needs to happen. And it looks like we have lost Adrian to the void of ice. He is in fact frozen. Adrian, are you there? There you are. Welcome back. Oh. It was a bounty hunter game. Yeah, the sequel to the original. Yeah, that's the one that I remember. And a lot of people were really excited for it, and then they canceled it. So that was very annoying. But hey, you know, sometimes it goes on to bigger and better things. I just hope the rest of that team found work after that project was canceled.
Sorry, I was being shown the Prey 2 footage. I don't know what happened to me there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Uh-oh. The men in black stopped by outside your house and cut your internet because you were watching the trailer. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a pretty fun conversation. Adrian, before we head out for the day, where can people find us online if they don't follow us already?
You can find us at Real Watchers here on YouTube. If you can hear me, I might be cutting out.
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Great. Yeah, Real Watchers, if you're watching this here on YouTube, we live stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m., usually around 7 to 8 between those two times. You can subscribe. Again, we post every Tuesday, or we're live every Tuesday, but then we also post some really good kind of video essay type quality stuff. Garrett's put in a lot of hard work, and those videos have done pretty well. So make sure to go check out some of our other work that's kind of got some really good content in there. And then if you want to follow us on social media, Real Watchers on Instagram. It's the best place to do it. Hope to see you there.
100%. Right way to do it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be live again next Tuesday at 7 p.m., so make sure you join us again for that. And keep your eye out. We'll have some more videos coming in the future. I'll just be ahead and honest with you. Got a little bit of writer's block coming on with some of those new videos. But it'll allow me to get done several at a time and then have them come out sequentially. So look forward to those. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you keep your eyes on the screen.